Hi there, my name is Hannah. I'm 21 years old, and today I'm going to basically be talking about getting diagnosed with cancer at a young age. So, I've decided to make a YouTube channel, honestly based on recommendations that have been given to me. It is a good way to document and to remember this time of my life. And honestly, I think that getting my story out there as someone who has had cancer at a young age and having the type of cancer that I have, it hopefully will reach people and people will understand and realize that it is more common than you think, and that it is okay to talk about, and you are okay to have the feelings that you have about having cancer. So, like I said, my name is Hannah. I am 21. I live in Massachusetts. I have a pretty normal life. I live with my parents. I have between my boyfriend and I, we have 5 cats. I have a dog. Life is pretty normal. I am actually going into nursing school in a couple months. I work in a pharmacy. Everything's pretty typical. So that's why this definitely came as a surprise and a shock to not only myself, but my family and my friends and everyone in my world, because it's like, how could someone living such a normal life have cancer? So today I'm going to talk about the process to getting diagnosed and how I found out I had cancer. Like I said, I was 20 when I got diagnosed. I just turned 21 on March 8th. So, it's very young. It is a very young age to have cancer at. It is definitely eye-opening. You have to mature really fast. You have to really grow up when you find out that you are sick. So, like I said, getting diagnosed at 20 years old, I was told by my oncologist, who is actually through Dana-Farber. So, like I said, I live in Massachusetts. Luckily, I'm an hour outside of Boston. It is like some of the best medical care in the world is up there. My oncologist at Dana-Farber basically had told me, he was like, if you've had this for 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised. And, that is basically half of my life. But anyways, so the process to getting diagnosed, it actually starts way back when, probably around the time I was probably about 13, 14, I started to have symptoms of hypothyroidism. Now, first of all, I didn't even specify I have thyroid cancer. I have stage 4A thyroid cancer. So way back when, I started to have symptoms of hypothyroidism. So weight gain like crazy, nothing you could do to get it off. Thinning of like your hair and your nails. I was having mental health issues. I was just having basically every symptom in the book I checked off. So around the time I was about 15, it was my sophomore year of high school, I go to my pediatrician and I'm like, hey, this is what's happening. What do I do? And so he sent me for blood work, and my TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone, comes back slightly elevated, but technically in normal range. And slightly elevated means an underactive thyroid. It's a little confusing. So he says, well, you're having the symptoms. It is slightly elevated. I'll go ahead and put you on levothyroxine. And I'm going to do a video talking about everything with a thyroid, but basically it is a replacement hormone for your thyroid. And so I said, okay. I took it for about 6 months, and then he tested me again, and he was like, you know what? He's like, I really don't want you on this, whatever. So I went off of it. Still having horrible symptoms, and they only got worse as time went on. They only got worse. So now, we're going on. Like I said, I was about 15 when that all happened. I graduate high school, I get a job, I start school, all of that fun stuff. And it felt like every day I just felt worse. I felt worse mentally. I started to really struggle with depression and with anxiety. And I had struggles for many years, but it kind of super ramped up. probably the past 2 years or so, I started to gain weight like crazy, and nothing I could do, I could not get any weight off of me, no matter what. Like, I tried anything, like every diet, I tried it. And like I said, I just, like, the physical pain, like the joint pain, the fatigue, I went to my doctor, and I still had my pediatrician, up until I was 19. And he just told me I was depressed. He told me I needed to lose weight. And that's the two things that I heard for a long time. And I said, I'm trying. It's not working. But I did it, and I got through it. And, I started to lose a little bit of weight and feel a little bit better. Whatever. Time goes on. So the story really begins actually back in June of 2018. I was out one day with someone, and he actually had noticed about over here, it's actually where my biopsy scar is, I had a little bump. And I have been in the medical field since I was literally 15 or 14, 15. So I didn't think much of it. I was like, it might just be a lymph node. I remember I had like a little cold around there. I was like, it's probably just a lymph node. Nothing serious. I'm not going to freak out about it. So time goes on. Like I say, I increasingly, especially 2019, I feel bad. I feel bad every day. I feel bad every second of every day. I am in physical pain. And you chalk it up to, yes, I am obese. Yes, I am depressed. I'm a pharmacy technician. I'm standing up for, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. It's not easy on your body, and especially when you are someone of size. So I just kind of chalked it up to that, chalked it up to stress, chalked it up to everything, whatever. So then April of 2019, this story is actually very relevant to this, but basically I get into a car accident. Luckily, no one else was hurt. It was just me and a guardrail on the highway. It's a long story, but I bring it up because all over here on me was bruised. It was swollen. It was really just kind of gnarly, and I didn't end up breaking anything. But it's a kind of a confusing story because I still had that little bump, and I had noticed it had grown slightly after my car accident. I don't know if that was like the catalyst for everything, but basically I noticed that it grew. So then July of 2019, this is kind of where things, really start to come into perspective. But anywho, I'm in the emergency room with my boyfriend, Alex. We've been together for a year and a half, just about. We're in the emergency room because I am having horrendous left-sided, like, hip pain. I guess you could call it hip. Sorry, that's one of his cats. I'm at his house. It's one of his cats jumping on the window. But anyways, I am having, like, horrific left-sided hip pain. Like, it hurt to walk. It hurt to just, everything hurt. And so I was advised by my primary care to go to the emergency room, get there, whatever, they want to do a CAT scan. And when they did the CAT scan, they put me in from like here down because they wanted to see my abdomen. And that ended up, everything came back fine with that. But they told me, the doctor came in and was like, you have lung nodules. And so basically nodules, it's masses, but when they're under a certain size, they are called nodules. And mine are very, very small. I just have a lot of them all around, basically like the bottom of my lung, kind of like on the edge. I have a lot of lung nodules. And so she told me, she was like, I don't know what this is. She's like, I cannot tell you right here what this is. She's like, you need to go get a follow-up CAT scan. And within the next week, my primary care, the office had scheduled a CAT scan for me, and I ended up not being able to go at the time. I don't know if I was working or whatever it was when they scheduled me. And honestly, I was kind of nervous, and I was like, I don't really want to do this. Oh, I am so sorry about this lighting. It just got super sunny all of a sudden. But anyways, I never ended up going. I'm kind of kicking myself now, and I know that I can't regret it because it happened and it is what it is, but what are you gonna do? So, oh my god, it just got so bright. So basically, time goes on. This little bump I had, it never went away, it grew. And I would say about September, October of 2019, literally like that, it almost seemed like it tripled in size. It was huge. And so I started to really get nervous there. I could move it, which was weird. Like, it wasn't firmly planted anywhere. Like, I could move it around, but it was big. When they took it out, which I'll get into, it ended up being almost 8 by 5 centimeters. So it was quite big. But anyways, like I said, I would say definitely October of 2019, like, it really grew, and I was like, no more. I was like, I need to go to the doctor. I was like, this could be something bad. So November 5th of 2019, I make an appointment with my primary care doctor. She's wonderful, and I love her so very much. I make an appointment to go see her in the afternoon. It makes me a little upset to talk about it, I'm sorry, but I make an appointment to go see her. I go in and see her, and I remember I sat down on the table and she starts to feel it. And then she looks at me and asks if I had had night sweats. And if you don't already know, lymphoma, a very classic symptom of lymphoma is extreme night sweats. But I hadn't been experiencing that, so I obviously told her no. And then she was asking me a couple more things, and I was answering, and then she left the room for 5 minutes, comes back, and she was like, you need to go over to the hospital. She's like, I am giving you orders for an ultrasound, an x-ray, and blood work to be taken now. And I was by myself. You know, it was a doctor's appointment. I was 20 years old at the time. Obviously, I can go by myself. But, so I'm like, oh, okay. And so I go over. I have the ultrasound done of this mass. I have an x-ray done. Just, I'd mentioned my car accident. She knew I had my car accident. And I was like, I don't know if it's from that. So we did an x-ray just to confirm that I actually didn't have any broken bones. And we did blood work. And within 2 hours, she calls me back. And it was the end of the day by that point. And she basically told me that the ultrasound, the radiologist called her and said it is what they're calling a cystic mass, is exactly what they called the mass that I had over here. And so she was like, you need to get a follow-up CAT scan. She's like, I'm going to see if we can get it for you, like, this week. And it was a Tuesday. And so I asked her, I'm like, I know you don't know. I was like, I know there's no way of knowing what this is. I was like, but if you had to guess, I was like, if you had an estimate, like, what are we looking at? And she was like, she basically told me verbatim, I don't want to scare you, but I'm worried about it being lymphoma. So I was like, okay. So the next day was obviously Wednesday. Her office calls me and was like, can you go tomorrow morning? And I wasn't able to. I think I had to work that day or something. So I end up going Friday, November 8th. And I have a CAT scan done basically from the top of my head down to about my knees. They put me in. There's no need for my legs. So I wait over the weekend for the results, and I'm freaking out and, just so nervous as to what is going on with me. So then that next Wednesday was November, so that'd be the 13th. Sorry, I'm like horrible with dates, but November 13th, I get a call from my doctor's nurse, and she said, hey, my doctor's name wants to see you. Can you come in a couple hours? At this time, it was like 12:30, and she asked if I can come in at like 2. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, I was with my boyfriend, Alex. We both didn't have to work. Like, it was fine. So here's where the story gets a little wonky and it's kind of a double-edged sword. So basically, like I said, I live in Massachusetts, and there's 3 major hospitals near where I live, and basically all the doctor's offices are connected through a health system. And this health system has an app. And like I said, I worked in healthcare for a long time. I was a CNA. I'm a pharmacy tech now. Like, I've worked in healthcare. It's what I'm interested in. And so they had they had an app. Well, they have an app. And on this app, your medical appointments go on there, and also test results. And so I had been checking this app religiously because I'm like waiting for these CAT scan results to see if I can decipher them first, because that's just the person that I am. And so when I get the call, I'm over at my boyfriend's house and I'm like, oh, so my CAT scan results must be up then if she has them and wants me to come in. So I log on to this app and it kind of pops up right away with notifications, and there were 2 new notifications. It was like, view details of your 2 upcoming appointments. And I was like, well, I didn't schedule any appointments. So I click on it and it comes up with the 2 doctors. The first one, it said his name and his specialty was a pulmonologist, which I knew I had stuff in my lungs. That's not surprising. The next one, it just said his name. And so, of course, I Google him and it comes back he is an oncologist. And luckily, I'm with my boyfriend at my boyfriend's house because I start inconsolably sobbing for about 20 minutes. I am sitting on his couch freaking out. You know, I managed to get the words out to him before I like fell apart. He calls my mom. My mom's in Chicago. She travels for work. So he calls her and tells her. She's listening to me cry. She's, you know, then booking flights home. I'm freaking out. Finally, we calm down and him and I go to my doctor together. They bring me in. And when they bring you in, they always do your vital signs, no matter what you're there for. And I remember my pulse was in the 150s, which if you're a healthy adult, it should be anywhere resting from 60 to 100, and mine was in the 150s. So the medical assistant had asked me, she was like, are you feeling okay? And I said, I'm okay. I was like, I know why I am here. And she kind of sat there and she was like, you saw it. And I was like, I did see it. And, you know, she starts apologizing and I'm telling her, I'm like, it is not you guys' fault. I was like, you guys did nothing wrong. It is my fault for looking. And then, you know, she starts talking to me and she was just like, you know, you're going to be okay. And I was like, it makes me a little upset. And I was like, I know. But she leaves. A couple minutes later, my doctor comes in and she sits down next to me and she, again, verbatim says to me, you know, basically, I thought this was lymphoma, but she's like, she said it could still be lymphoma. She's like, but now I am leaning more towards thyroid. And I was like, what do you mean? And so then she goes on to tell me that the CAT scan showed that I had a very large mass on the left side of my thyroid. And like I said, I'm going to do a whole video talking about what a thyroid is, but basically if you don't know, it is a butterfly-shaped gland in your neck. It is about right here. You see my scar from my surgery, but it is shaped like that. And it's relatively small, but anyways, she tells me on the left side of it, it was 6 by 4 centimeters or something like that was the biggest tumor, along with pretty much all lymph nodes over here were necrotic and enlarged and matted, like not words you really want to hear. And so basically we talked for at least half an hour about this, just about everything. And so long story short, the next day I went to the oncologist down where I live, and he comes in and he looks at me and then looks at my mom, and I didn't really like this doctor. He never really talked to me, and it's like, listen, I know I'm 20, but like, talk to me, I'm an adult. But anyways, he said that this is the tip of the iceberg and that everything from now on needs to be done in Boston. He literally said to us, he was like, we don't have what you need down here. He's like, you need to go to Boston. So this was March 14th, November 15th, we meet with the pulmonologist. He doesn't really have much to say. He basically was like, you know, what's in your lungs looks like metastatic disease. He's like, from whatever type of cancer that you have. And they had been telling me, you know, the oncologist had said to me, his pretty much exact words were, I cannot 100% tell you that you have cancer because you have not had a biopsy. And then he goes, but I can 99.9% tell you that you have cancer. And he also said either thyroid that has just metastasized or it's lymphoma. So that was not very fun. But anyways, on November 20th, I get a PET scan done. And I will also be doing a video about scans and tests and all that fun stuff. But, you know, to sum it up, a PET scan basically lights up. It's a scan and it'll light up where there's cancer. And so November 21st, I'm in Boston and I am meeting with a thoracic surgeon because we knew obviously we needed a biopsy. That was first and foremost was biopsy. And the surgeon was actually, he's a wonderful guy. I loved him. He was awesome. He basically told me, he's like, I'm not even gonna waste time doing your thyroid. He was like, I'm just gonna go for this mass. He's like, whatever cells are in that mass will tell us exactly what we need to know. So, like I said, this was November 21st, and November 26th, I had a surgical biopsy done. So basically I was under for 2 hours. They ended up removing that whole tumor, the big one I talked about, which they thought was a lymph node, but it wasn't, but I'll get into that. It was a tumor along with a lymph node next to it, and they also did a bronchoscopy and a mediastinoscopy. I can never say those. To basically look at my lungs. And he said besides nodules, everything was good. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. But it was November 26th, and then December 12th, I had my follow-up, but basically to find out my biopsy results. And he was like, you know, he's like, it's thyroid cancer. And I was like, okay, nice. I deal with things in a humorous way. If I don't, I would just fall apart. I need humor to get me through things. So basically he was like, yeah, your results show it's thyroid cancer. There is different types of thyroid cancer. But he was like, you know, next step is Dana-Farber. And so this was December 12th, and they called me the same day. This was a Thursday. And they called me the same day and like, can you come in Monday morning? And I was like, sure. So Monday morning, we're at Dana-Farber. I end up meeting first with my oncologist there, who is, I love him. He is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful doctor. He's actually the director of like the Thyroid Cancer Care Center at Dana-Farber. He's an awesome doctor. So I meet with him, and he had a fellow, which basically a doctor training to be an oncologist. And I also met with my surgeon, who is an otolaryngologist. I can never say that word. Basically an ENT, and she's also a surgeon. I met with them, all so nice. I will say Dana-Farber is a wonderful, wonderful place. But basically, my oncologist was like, you know, he was like, it looks like classic papillary thyroid cancer. He's like, we're going to have to rebiopsy your thyroid just to make sure there's no areas which they call poorly differentiated, which basically means a more aggressive type. But he was like, you know, it looks like papillary thyroid cancer. He's like, you just have extensive metastasis. And he basically said that that is due to probably having it for such a long time. And so then we meet with the surgeon, and she comes in and she says, you know, the best course of action for this, she's like, you need your whole thyroid removed, a total thyroidectomy, and you need a neck dissection. Basically means you can see my scar starts right here and goes like that and down and around. And so that is because I had a neck dissection to remove lymph nodes. And everyone just kept saying extensive, you know, extensive metastasis. And I was like, I know, it's bad. No, they're honestly, they're wonderful, wonderful doctors. So in the meantime, this was December 16th, and I had my surgery January 16th, which I'm going to do a whole separate video on because it is a lengthy surgery. It is a lot to talk about. In the meantime, I got set up with an endocrinologist who I adore. My endocrinologist, she is amazing. And I know I keep saying that, but I have been lucky through this process that I have had such wonderful doctors. That basically just happened in the meantime. I got an ultrasound done, countless amounts of blood work done. Like I said, I had my surgery January 16th. I'm in the hospital for 5 days. I've obviously been home. And my radioactive iodine, which is basically the standard treatment for thyroid cancer, is the end of this month. It is the 25th, which, like I said, I'll be doing a whole video all about radioactive iodine. But But anyways, they re-biopsied my thyroid after surgery. Just classic papillary thyroid cancer, just, you know, they said the words unusually aggressive. And in my surgery, they ended up taking out 83 lymph nodes and 30 came back cancerous. So a little more than a third, which I was like, at least it's not half. But anyways, so that's basically how I found out I had cancer. I was 20 obviously when I got diagnosed. I'm 21 now. I'm newly 21. And it's been a whirlwind. I haven't really worked since my last day of work was in December. There was just kind of a lot of circumstances around my job. At the time I was like, I can't do it. And, you know, I haven't been in school either, and it's been a hard time. And, you know, especially now with this whole coronavirus, which will also be another video, is talking about coronavirus. But, it has not been easy. It has been extremely hard. It has been the hardest time of my life. But like I said, hopefully by talking about it, I can bring awareness to not only pediatric cancer, because that's what they consider my case, is a case of pediatric cancer, cancer in pediatrics, adolescent cancer, thyroid cancer, but honestly just cancer in general, that it is okay to say you have cancer, that it is okay to talk about it. But anyways, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be having a lot more videos coming about not only cancer, but a lot of other things, you know, being a young adult and everything that I am. So thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.